The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Sad but true, the race card is on full display once again as lawmakers on the left say that those that disagree with the president's new anti-gun plans, well, they must be racist. Now listen to what Congressman Hank Johnson told CNS News yesterday after the president announced he was going to bypass Congress and put forward 23 executive actions.
You said just a minute ago that part of the NRA's true colors was seemed to be kind of a personal dislike of the president. Why do you think that is?
First of all, he is a black, and as a black person, being the president of the United States, that's something that they still cannot. They still cannot get over. They couldn't get over the first election. They're still shell-shocked at the second election, to use a pun, shell-shocked.
Congressman Johnson, I have a wild thought. Perhaps the NRA disagrees with the president's policies because they represent an assault on the Second Amendment to the Constitution. And there's more. Just yesterday, New York Congressman Charlie Rangel said that the racists in the South are to blame for the lack of gun laws in that region. Oh, really? Listen to this.
New York is a little different and more progressive in a lot of areas than some other states. And some of the southern areas have cultures that we have to overcome.
Joining us now with reaction to this, the entire gun control showdown, author, attorney David Limbaugh, Fox News political analyst Juan Williams. Juan, your reaction?
Well, I don't think that this is about the president's race, but I think that race has a lot to do with this conversation. That's why I think you see Congressman Johnson from Georgia saying, hey, look, if you look across the South, high membership in the NRA, high amount of gun ownership, principally among whites, and in fact, mostly Republicans, and it makes for a huge divide in terms of trying to enact some reasonable legislation that puts in place reasonable gun control.
It's a more rural area. People have been brought up with the use of guns. Hunting is more widespread. There are not many hunters in New York City, Juan.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I mean, it's a little different than an urban or a city environment, isn't it?
No, but that wouldn't stop you from saying that hunters and NRA members don't understand that there's a need for reasonable gun control legislation in the country.
That's not what he said. What Hank Johnson said, they still can't get over that Obama is black.
Well,
that's what they say. That is race baiting.
I agreed with you, Sean. I don't think that that's a legitimate argument to make. I don't think it's because, I don't know what, in his mind, a lot of Southerners, a region that, I mean, 60% of white people didn't vote for Obama, and the South went overwhelmingly for Romney.
I am getting tired of this. David Limbaugh, I'm getting tired of this country being led by the president, being divided along racial lines, rich versus poor, black versus white, old versus young. This president is the most divisive president in history, and of course, we hear it from his party almost daily now. Maybe they don't know the campaign's over.
You know, Hank Johnson said we can't get over that he's black. Now, I can't get over that he's a Marxist. You know, this constant usage of liberals and Obama of the race card is damaging race relations. It's damaging minorities. It's damaging blacks. I could tick off 17 examples of Obama's exploitation of race. I had them in both of my books. I've got them listed here if you want to waste the time going into them. But this is hurting race relations, and Obama is deliberately projecting race onto his political opponents, saying it's their racism. It's a case of deliberate projection. He's doing it to his political advantage. It's shameful. And Juan, I don't think, subscribes to it, and I wish he would condemn it.
I just did. By the way, David,
no. He's saying Obama's use of it. He's saying, you know, unchained, they're going to put you back in chains.
It's deliberate, Juan.
David, where did you see President Obama say that this was because of race? He said that there's too much killing in this country, and you look up in Connecticut, those were overwhelmingly white children.
He's got his minions out doing it for him. He went to minorities in the 2010 and 2012 campaigns and appealed on the basis of race, told them to get out there. Eric Holder said that we were cowards on race. Obama continues to talk about injecting race into all aspects. When he talked about bitter clingers, he suggested that we had antipathy for people who don't look like us. He said if he had a kid, he would look like Trayvon Martin. All these things are race on the brain.
A man of your intellect, David, you are way off in the weeds. You've lost all touch with this central argument that I'm making to you, that you can see the carnage in the black community at a tremendously high rate on a nightly
stop for a second.
You look at the
you ought to be
president's
worried
city
about
of
black
Chicago.
on black crime then, instead
Yeah, okay,
of
I don't
exploiting
care.
children.
So what are you saying, David? Because it's black on black crime, it's tolerable?
Oh, why isn't he active?
No,
Wait a minute. You can make the case.
what?
Why didn't he
I
act
said
before?
you ought to be focused on it. You ought to be focused on that. You ought to be
Let's
focused on the
focus then
crime in
on
the inner
putting in
city
place-
that are.
Let's
What?
focus then on putting in place reasonable gun control that keeps guns out of the
Gun
hands
control-
of these gangbangers that are killing fellow
Gun-
Americans.
They don't obey
Gun
laws.
control won't
Lawbreakers
do
don't
it.
obey them, Juan.
What do you mean?
If gun control
Go ahead, David.
has the
Sorry.
opposite effect. Gun control has the opposite effect. You have these assault weapons bans, and you increase crime. You create these gun-free zones, and that's where the maniacs go. Most of the weapons, most of the murders are committed by handguns. Only a small percentage by assault weapons, which, by the way, do not exist. There's no such things. It's semi-automatic that reload automatically. We got to keep the guns in the hands of people to defend
Let's come back to
themselves.
the heart of this argument, David. You're saying that somehow the gangbangers, the thugs, all go to gun-free zones. David, they are getting guns from states that have lax gun laws. Those guns are funneled into places like New York, Chicago, Houston, and then they're used to kill people. And that's why most Americans, and I would add, according to Frank Luntz, most NRA members think that you can put in place reasonable steps that don't take away your Second Amendment rights.
I'm not saying gangbangers go to gun-free zones. I'm saying these maniac killers have gone to those zones, and Obama wants to direct all his laws to those incidents, and he wants to prescribe the exact wrong solutions and play on people's emotions because he has something more in mind, not just banning assault weapons, but getting confiscating our weapons. We have to be suspicious.
Guys, we got to go. Thank you,
David.
Juan, David.
Oh,
good to see you both.
I love it.
See you guys.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.